You have spent your entire life looking, but you have never truly seen. Your eyes register movement, color, and form, but beneath the surface of every moment lies a dimension of reality that remains invisible to you. This is not a mystical claim. This is a psychological truth that most people discover too late, after decades of reactive living have calcified into permanent patterns. What I am about to share with you has been called forbidden, not because it is secret, but because it demands that you question the very foundation of how you perceive yourself and the world. Today, I will show you how to activate the inner vision that has been dormant within you since childhood. I am Monk Jin, and today we discuss something you may have felt but never named. There is a quiet sense, persistent and undeniable, that something essential is missing from your experience of life. You are functioning, you are responsible, you are present in all the ways society requires. Yet beneath the surface of daily routines, there exists a feeling of separation, as though you are living through a screen rather than touching reality directly. This is not depression. This is not dissatisfaction with circumstances. This is a hunger for deeper perception. You have reached a stage in life where external success no longer satisfies the internal question. You begin to wonder whether there is a way to see more clearly, not with your eyes, but with something deeper. Many call this inner vision. I call it conscious awareness. It is not mystical in the sense of being supernatural. It is psychological in the sense of being real and accessible. What you sense missing is not out there in the world. It is a quality of perception you have not yet cultivated. This feeling is not weakness. It is maturity asking for its next step. Today, I will show you what that step is. Modern life is designed to keep you externally engaged and internally numb. From the moment you wake, your attention is divided among obligations, devices, and the expectations of others. You move through tasks without pausing to observe what you are feeling or why you are feeling it. Over time, this constant outward focus creates a habit of mental noise. Your thoughts become reactive rather than reflective. You respond to life rather than understanding it. This is not accidental. The structure of contemporary society rewards productivity and penalizes introspection. You are conditioned to solve problems, not to observe them. You are trained to accumulate information, not to cultivate wisdom. The result is a mind that is always busy but rarely aware. Emotional fatigue builds quietly. You may notice irritability, restlessness, or a vague sense of disconnection from your own life. These are not personal failures. These are natural consequences of living without inner attention. Your capacity for reflection has weakened because it has not been used. Inner vision fades when awareness is neglected. This is why you feel something is missing. You are missing yourself. When I speak of the forbidden technique, I am not referring to something hidden or esoteric. I am referring to disciplined self-observation, which most people avoid because it is uncomfortable. The technique is forbidden not by tradition but by the ego itself. Your identity, the collection of stories and beliefs you hold about who you are, resists being observed. It prefers to remain automatic. To see yourself clearly requires that you stop identifying with every thought and emotion that arises. This is not suppression. This is awareness. You begin to notice what you think without becoming what you think. You begin to feel what you feel without being controlled by it. This shift feels threatening to the conditioned mind because it undermines the illusion of a fixed self. The technique I will describe is simple, but it is not easy. It requires that you sit with discomfort instead of distracting yourself from it. It requires that you question narratives you have believed for decades. Most people prefer the familiarity of confusion over the clarity that demands change. This is why inner vision remains rare. If this truth resonates with you, write in the comments below, "I want to see more clearly." Seeing and understanding are not the same. You see the surface of events. You understand their meaning only when awareness is present. Every day you encounter thousands of sensory impressions. Light enters your eyes. Sound reaches your ears. Yet most of this information passes through you without conscious recognition. You are technically awake, but you are not fully attentive. This is the difference between passive perception and active awareness. Passive perception is automatic. You register what happens, but you do not question it. Active awareness is deliberate. You notice not only what happens, but also how you respond internally. For example, someone speaks to you with frustration. Passive perception hears the words. Active awareness notices the words, your emotional reaction, and the thought patterns triggered by that reaction. Inner vision is this second layer of attention. It is the capacity to observe your own mental and emotional processes as they occur. This is not self-criticism. This is self-knowledge. When you develop this skill, thoughts and emotions lose their automatic power over you. You begin to see them as movements within consciousness rather than definitions of who you are. This is the foundation of clarity. Inner vision is not a belief system. It is a skill you can cultivate through consistent practice. The greatest obstacle to clarity is the concept you hold of yourself. You have spent decades constructing an identity. You define yourself through roles, achievements, relationships, and beliefs. You say, "I am a parent, I am a professional, I am logical, I am spiritual." These labels create a psychological framework through which you interpret reality. The problem is not that these identities are false. The problem is that they become filters. You begin to see only what confirms your self-concept and ignore what contradicts it. If you believe you are calm, you suppress anger. If you believe you are independent, you deny vulnerability. Your identity becomes a prison disguised as self-knowledge. Inner vision requires that you loosen your grip on these fixed narratives. This does not mean abandoning responsibility or losing coherence. It means recognizing that you are larger than any single definition. When you observe yourself without clinging to a particular story, awareness expands. You notice thoughts that do not align with your self-image. You feel emotions you previously dismissed. This process feels threatening because the ego interprets flexibility as dissolution. It believes that without rigid identity, you will disappear. The opposite is true. Without rigid identity, you finally appear. Silence is not the absence of sound. Silence is the absence of mental commentary. When I speak of silence as essential to inner vision, I am referring to the space between thoughts where awareness becomes clear. Most people experience their minds as continuous streams of judgment, analysis, and narrative. One thought triggers another. One emotion justifies a series of reactions. This internal noise creates the illusion that thinking is the same as understanding. It is not. Thinking is often a defense against feeling. It is a way to maintain control over experiences that frighten or confuse you. Silence allows you to observe without immediately interpreting. You see an emotion arise, and instead of explaining it or justifying it, you simply notice it. This does not mean you become passive. It means you become responsive rather than reactive. When silence is present, perception sharpens. You begin to notice subtleties in your own behavior and in the behavior of others. You recognize patterns you have repeated for years without awareness. This is not achieved through effort. It is achieved through stillness. The practice is simple. You sit quietly and observe your breath, your body, or the quality of your attention itself. When thoughts arise, you do not fight them. You acknowledge them and return to observation. Over time, the mind learns to rest. Silence becomes a natural state rather than a forced condition. This is the internal mechanism that strengthens inner vision. The reason most people avoid true self-observation is that it brings them face to face with what they have been avoiding. Awareness is not comfortable at first. It reveals inconsistencies, contradictions, and unconscious motivations. You may discover that the patience you believe defines you is actually suppressed frustration. You may realize that the confidence you project is masking deep uncertainty. These revelations feel like failures, but they are not. They are moments of honesty. Emotional resistance to awareness is normal. The mind has spent decades protecting itself through distraction, rationalization, and selective attention. When you begin to observe without those defenses, vulnerability surfaces. You feel exposed. You question whether this process is worth the discomfort. This resistance is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that you are approaching something real. Growth occurs at the edge of comfort, not within it. The key is to meet resistance with patience rather than force. You do not need to overcome every fear or dissolve every defense immediately. You simply need to remain present with what you observe. Over time, resistance softens. What once felt threatening becomes familiar. You begin to see that awareness does not destroy you, it clarifies you. If you are willing to share, write in the comments one habit or emotional pattern that you now observe more clearly in yourself. Inner vision is not theoretical. It is meant to be lived. The practice of awareness does not require isolation or withdrawal from daily responsibilities. It requires that you bring conscious attention to ordinary moments. Consider a conversation. Most people listen while simultaneously preparing their response. They are not present. They are performing. When you apply inner vision to conversation, you notice this habit. You observe the impulse to defend, to impress, or to control the narrative. Instead of acting on that impulse automatically, you pause. You listen completely. You respond from clarity rather than reactivity. This simple shift transforms communication. Consider decision-making. Most decisions are driven by fear, desire, or social expectation. When awareness is present, you recognize these influences as they arise. You ask yourself, am I choosing this because it aligns with my values or because I am avoiding discomfort? This question does not paralyze you. It orients you. Inner vision allows you to act with integrity rather than impulse. The same principle applies to emotional regulation. When anger surfaces, you do not suppress it or justify it. You observe it. You feel where it lives in your body. You notice the thoughts that accompany it. This awareness creates space between the emotion and your response. You remain stable even when circumstances are not. This is not detachment. This is mastery. You engage with life fully, but you are no longer controlled by unconscious patterns. Awareness becomes your foundation. Progress in developing inner vision is subtle. It does not announce itself with dramatic experiences or sudden revelations. You will not wake one morning transformed. Instead, you will notice small shifts. You will find yourself pausing before reacting. You will recognize an old emotional pattern while it is happening rather than hours later. You will feel a quiet sense of stability even during uncertainty. These are the real indicators of growth. Many people expect inner vision to produce mystical experiences or profound insights. They look for signs that confirm they are progressing. This expectation becomes another obstacle. True clarity is undramatic. It is calm, steady, and present. You will know you are developing awareness, not because you feel different, but because you respond differently. Conversations become less defensive. Decisions feel more aligned. Emotional turbulence decreases in frequency and intensity. You begin to trust your own perception rather than relying on external validation. This does not mean life becomes easy. It means you become capable. Challenges still arise, but they no longer destabilize you. You meet them with attention rather than avoidance. The most significant change is internal. You stop waiting for circumstances to improve before you feel at peace. You realize that peace is a quality of awareness, not a result of control. This understanding is quiet, but it is permanent. Inner vision does not promise happiness. It offers clarity, and clarity is more valuable than any fleeting emotion. To live as an observer does not mean to live as a spectator. This is a common misunderstanding. People fear that awareness will distance them from life, that they will become detached or emotionally cold. The opposite is true. Awareness allows you to engage more fully because you are no longer consumed by unconscious reactions. You participate in relationships, work, and creativity with presence rather than distraction. You feel emotions deeply, but you are not defined by them. You experience challenges directly, but you are not overwhelmed. This is the balance inner vision creates. It is not withdrawal, it is integration. The practice I have described is lifelong. There is no final state of perfect awareness. There are only moments of greater or lesser clarity. Some days you will observe yourself with ease. Other days, old patterns will return. This is natural. The goal is not to eliminate unconscious behavior entirely. The goal is to recognize it more quickly and respond more skillfully. Over time, awareness becomes your default state rather than an effortful practice. You no longer need to remind yourself to be present. Presence becomes who you are. This is what it means to activate inner vision. It is not a technique you perform. It is a way you live. I encourage you to begin today. Sit quietly for 5 minutes and observe your breath. Notice your thoughts without following them. This is the beginning. If you are ready to commit to this path, write in the comments, "I commit to conscious awareness." Thank you for your attention. May your vision deepen with each day. You have spent your entire life looking, but you have never truly seen.